Hello, everybody. This is Munson Steed, and welcome to Health IQ. So, as always, we want to make sure that your intelligence is actually going up as it relates to your health. Key point, finding the right professional for your health. For me, I am one of the most fortunate people in the entire world. I get to speak to some of the best practitioners of health who are dedicated, who have been in our community, who want accessibility and disparities to be erased. Of course, we want to educate and entertain. But when you go to HBCU, there's something that's just always so real. There's so much love, there's so much excitement. The professors are so hard on you. And then you find yourself having to make a decision. Will I go to the AC, hang out with Stacey Abrams, or maybe Kamala Harris at Howard, or maybe hang out in the DMV close enough, but so that you could study and become a doctor and end up at Hampton? Well, HU, the other HU, the two HUs have got this huge portal of phenomenal, educated, dynamic brothers and sisters coming out of Hampton. I'm going to introduce you to one right now. Hello, Dr. Ebonie Vincent. How are you?
Hello, I am very good. How are you?
I'm so proud to see you again. Obviously, I can watch you on the tube, but I always caution individuals to understand the accessibility and the excitement that you bring to not only television, but to your practice to inspire all the Black girl magic is so important for our community. So,
Thank
how does it
you.
feel to be that young Black girl who's in freshman year trying to decide what she's doing at Hampton with all the competition, beautiful as you are, intelligent as you are, stay focused? What'd you think freshman year? Were you going to make it?
You know what? It's a lot to undertake when you're first entering campus. Everything's going on. You have just you're overwhelmed. Your senses are definitely overwhelmed. Um, but I walked in as a biology major, and what was specific and what I love most about my Hampton University is that I really felt like my advisors really cared. Like I literally had my advisor, Mr. Davis. He was on me like nobody's business. I remember our first meeting. He was like, "Okay, so where are you from? What do you want to be? You want to be a doctor, huh? And you're gonna play volleyball? Oh, okay. So this is what you need to do." And then he would check in like literally once every 2 weeks, once a week. He would be checking in like, "Hey, I saw what your quiz score was. Doctors don't get these grades. You got to pick it up." So I mean, it wasn't like you're just flying by the seat of the wind. Like I feel like I had a built-in infrastructure that literally cared what my future was going to be at my HBCU. Like I can name my advisors and my teacher by name. They know me. And it wasn't like I was just a number in a class. So while I was overwhelmed, I did feel a sense of me being grounded, and I had a sense of pride about that other people were rooting for me, so I had no choice but to be my best. So that's why I'm so much of my credit goes to Hampton. A lot of my friends are from Hampton. A lot of the people I connect with are from Hampton and other HBCUs. So yeah, that freshman kid that was uh, pretty overwhelmed kind of got it together quickly.
I think those are the nurturing ideas and the ideology of increased expectation. I mean, when you think about any HBCU, there is someone who says, increase your expectation,
Oh
increase
yeah.
your expectation. We have some expectations of you. So let's just begin to kind of, what is it that you said? What? Oh, okay. Expectation is. Okay.
Exactly. Yes, it's a B standard of excellence at Hampton University, just in case you didn't
Just in case you didn't know. I love it. So you leave there, you have to make a decision. You obviously, MCAT plays a role in all of this. You ace the MCAT. Where do you go to med school?
So that was actually not my journey.
Ah,
That was supposed to be my journey, but here's what really happened. Because I was a student athlete, I actually needed two classes that made me eligible to apply to medical school. So I did take the MCAT, but yet I wasn't able to apply because I didn't have like a pharmacology biochemistry. I think those are the classes, if I remember correctly. So I had to do a post-bac program. So I actually applied to a post-bac program and got in at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. And my journey is so interesting because I was in my first year in my as a biomed student, and I went to church, found a church home, and who did I sit next to was a woman who offered me a full scholarship to do an extra year at PCOM to get a master's degree in biomedical science. So
It sounds like
I
a song.
a
Won't he
what?
do it? A song.
I know.
Won't he
Won't he
do
do
it?
it? Yes, won't
Won't
he
he
do it?
do it? Yes, he
He
will.
said he
Won't he
would.
do it?
He said he would. No, seriously, it was just really bizarre. I remember
I
being
was
in church and
serious.
she asked me for a piece of gum, and then she looked at me and she was like, "What do you do?" I was like, "I'm a student here. I know nobody. I am trying to figure it out in Philadelphia." And she was like, "You look like you would be a perfect candidate for my scholarship program." And I got a full scholarship to do a master's in biomedical science. I got to stay at the university that already accepted me. And so, I mean, and I loved that degree. I got to do research. I got a chance to do a lot more shadowing of physicians. And without that time, I don't think I would have even found the field of podiatry because I was able to shadow orthopedic, shadow a heart surgeon, shadow an OBGYN. And podiatry was the last field that I actually shadowed. And so I'll be honest, I didn't really it wasn't even on my radar, the field of podiatry, prior to me, having this experience in my master's program. Um, and so yeah, after all my shadowing experience, I kind of like took a step back and looked at my life and was like, okay, so it's bigger than, my career. It's also my life, my lifestyle, what I want to be, what I want to do with it. Um, and I chose to apply to podiatry school.
Well, I love that. The
Yeah.
idea, you have this thing baking with God, you think you're on your plan, and all of a sudden he
Mhm.
said, "Oh, you want to know how close an angel will be? You want to know how close a miracle will happen. You just want to go, oh, if you obey and find you a church home, something might happen good for you. You know you're supposed to have
Something.
a church home. Somebody might be there, might be this angel that'll look in you and hear me and hear my voice and say, I
Exactly.
think you should be here." And then being patient. You have to be patient. You found this beautiful calling, and when you found your calling, how did you know it? Because I think many are looking for a calling and are going to look to what your answer is to kind of get a vision of how you found something that you could love and do and heal as a healer.
Right. Oh, I think that a lot of people will find what they don't want to do before they find what they do want to do. And I think that that was completely me. I mean, I have done, like I said, a bunch of shadowing, a lot of physicians. I even did a stint at as a pathologist, with the coroner's office, like. And so I was just ticking things off the box, like, "Ooh, I don't like that. Mm-mm, I can't do this. This."
This sounds like another show. I just want you to know it's
Yeah.
starting to sound like the medical shadow. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I was doing it all. I was just kind of like, I need to figure it out. I even tried to do or thought about doing research. Um, but no, I think that it hit me that I wanted to be a podiatrist because I had done enough of the work to shadow people. And I looked at the podiatrist lifestyle and I looked at the podiatrist work. And I said, this is a medical professional that's great with their hands, knows science in the background, and most importantly, they're happy. Like, podiatrists are generally happy people because they're able to make their patients happy. And that's kind of like exuded my spirit, and I didn't want to have emotional casualties after being a part of a field that I didn't absolutely love. Like, I didn't want to have that physician burnout or the lack of consciousness with my empathy because I'm tired and I don't care. Like, I definitely wanted to be in a field where I can do the best I can for my patients, but also take that time and do the best that I can to make my whole life what I envisioned.
I really love the idea of My feet are killing me on TLC, where we have this beautiful, dynamic, studied, learned, compassionate physician. Why don't we take a look at that? I think that would be interesting for our audience to really
Yeah.
see. Is that cool?
Okay.
Let's
That's
go
cool.
for it.
All right.
You go ahead and
Well, today I'm here to see Dr. Vincent. I really honestly getting so frustrated with my condition. I was looking for help. I want my feet back. I want to be able to enjoy my life. The pain in my feet feels like jolts of electricity every step I take. When people see my feet, they kind of react very squeamish. A lot of people don't want to see it. I can't blame them because my feet look like someone took a firecracker and probably put it on top and exploded it. I mean, my biggest fear is I'm gonna have to have my foot or my toes amputated.
Well, hello
Hey,
there.
Dr. Vincent, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Can't complain.
Can't
No
complain?
complaining. Yes.
Okay.
Work your magic.
All right. So to recap it all, you had these wounds for what, like 2 years?
2 years. When these wounds first started to appear, I didn't know what was happening, and that really scared me. I woke up one day, this foot, the big toe, and the top of my foot swelled up really, really bad. The toe looked like it had exploded.
Wow.
And it just started spreading after that. So it was only on this foot at first. But months later, this foot opened up. I haven't worn regular shoes in 2 years. I can walk, but only for a limited time because, man, the pain was
Really painful.
I can't even begin to tell you.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
You gonna be gentle?
I'm going to be very gentle.
There you go.
Here, we'll start with this one. Okay.
Just be gentle.
Okay.
Don't hurt me.
Okay.
I trust you.
All righty.
Put my feet in your hands.
I hear ya.
There it is.
Okay. Okay. So Gregory's feet look like someone poured yellow candle wax, like on his feet. A wound can have like a biofilm layer of bacteria that doesn't help with the healing of the wound. It's very oozy, it's very drippy, it's thick, doesn't smell great. It has the pungent smell of onions to the point where I thought I could taste it. So not good.
The healer. So it's strong. You've got to have a true commitment to changing lives. And that kind of brings us up to true awareness and having an advocate and being able to trust. We've seen the disparities, obviously, with COVID. When patients come to you and they look you in the eye and you make that connection, what type of compassion and what do you really know, particularly for our Black patients that are looking for answers from you?
So, in particular, my Black patients are already very skeptical of doctors in general. Oftentimes, I am their second or third consult or their second or third opinion. Um, I think that it's my job to slowly and methodically explain what I think their condition is. I think oftentimes we get lost in translation with the communication with one another, especially if you don't take the time to make sure that person understands it. Like for my patient in the show, I just don't think that he ever got an accurate diagnosis of what his wounds were. Like he didn't even really know that there were different types of wounds, and that could have a revelation as to what was going on inside of his body. So, for instance, like you could have wounds because you have venous problems, like your veins are just collapsed, and that's why you're just continuing to drain. Or you could have an arterial artery that's because you have something wrong with the actual blood flow down to your foot. There's several other reasons as to why you could have an ulceration, and finding out the reason why gives a great picture as to how to go forward and heal it. So, I think that my biggest thing when I'm dealing with patients who probably have a negative history with medicine, um, or just don't have, a background that can make them understand, is for me to explain what I think is going on and then have them explain it back to me, and then explain the plan and then have them explain it back to me. So that way we're on like the best page possible, because I don't want us to get lost in translation, because I think that's the biggest thing with um, patient compliance and with just overall healing.
So when you see that, most people, at least for me, the question was, what was the remedy? How did you connect? What was next? We hadn't, obviously, we want people to tune in so that they can really think about care. I think the more all of us learn about healthcare and how to
Yes.
create a relationship, I am so proud of you, because
Thank you.
it's a process, and I literally steal every time I'm here so that I can give people, you want a physician that has a methodology, and I love
Right.
the fact that you're like, I'm here to give you counsel, but I need you to receive it.
Yes.
You can't advocate for yourself if you don't understand what I'm saying you need to do. So, thinking about that and thinking about our community, what are some of the do's and don'ts when someone begins to know that there's something a little bit more abnormal to that foot? It's no longer just looking like a normal sore, there's something different. What should they do before it gets to the state that he's wrapping his foot?
So you definitely want to have a good family medicine doctor. That's kind of the staple that you want to have. You want to be going to a yearly physical where someone's looking you up from head to toe and talking to you about every single thing, and they're looking at the whole big picture of your health. The family doctors are basically the gatekeepers to all of the specialists, right? So my brother is a family medicine doctor, and he refers patients to whoever needs to be referred to. Like, he can refer you to cardiology, he can refer you to podiatry, he can refer you to ortho. And once you get into that bubble, that health bubble, I'm directly into contact with that person's family medicine doctor. I'm sending notes like, hey, you sent this patient to me. Thank you very much for trusting me with their care. This is what's going on, you know? And we're in communication. You have a team of doctors behind you. And I think that's what patients need to be aware of, is how the medical system actually works. Um, Insurance is very different. It's very confusing. Even to doctors, it's confusing, but to patients, it could be even more so. If you have an HMO where you have to see this group of doctors, they should all be in communication with each other. If you have a PPO and you don't have a regular visits with your family doctor and you're trying to piecemeal your situation together, that's when things get a little dicey, I think. But it's still completely, it's great because you can choose your doctor and then you can make sure that your doctors communicate with each other. But you have to understand that you're going to need to take your notes. You're going to provide fax numbers. You're going to have to make sure that all of your physicians are in communication about your health. Um, I can share like a quick story without any details. Is one of my patients, a Black woman from Los Angeles, comes to me thinking that she just needs her toenail, just take it off, my toenail hurts, right? And I go in and I examine her and I'm like, this is a lot deeper than just your toenail hurting. You have a blockage somewhere in your blood flow in your arteries. If I take the toenail, I can create a wound and then your toe will literally fall off. Like, you need a vascular surgeon. And so I got on the phone with some of my contacts in LA. I'm like, this is the person you need to go to. She went there, she got revascularized, and now her toe doesn't hurt and she no longer has pain. So it's just like, you might think you know what you need, and so you're going to that person to fix what you think is necessary, but you have to know that there's a deeper process and kind of trust that they're specialists for a reason. Does that make sense?
You went to Hampton, you're talking right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying. Yeah, I appreciate the connection, because on Health IQ, we really want to make sure that people get the concept. And I think,
Right.
number one, before you get to a foot doctor and you're having a problem, have your own family physician that you go to. If you are getting past 45, I would say even 40, you probably want to get that routine biannual, just so you don't have as many surprises. Um,
Yeah,
things don't crop up, particularly if you have insurance, use it. That's just my thing.
I
The other
agree.
thing is, test, as you get older, there are tests that you should keep up with, The other thing is a baseline. I think all of us, particularly in our health at Health IQ, like to say baseline. So I really love how you said family doctor, family physician, and then you are connected within the spoke of your health bubble. And I love that because now you have advocates. You've got people that you have a personal relationship with. They've given you the references and there's a process. So I love the evolution that you shared. But for many of our communities, there are manageable diseases that actually end up causing them to have to kind of meet with you because at that
Yeah.
point, whether it's loss of a foot, open wound, things like diabetes create additional complications. What can we know about that and share with our audience just to kind of give them a heads up that things could be going awry?
Right. Well, I mean, you probably know that the conversation is a lot deeper and about our overall communities and health and access to everything. But, to put it succinctly, diabetes type 2 is preventable. A lot of times people are like, well, my mom and dad had it, my uncles have it, everybody had type 2 diabetes, it's genetic. No, you can prevent this from happening to you. Essentially, we need to eat better or eat less and work out more. Oftentimes that your body is just so overwhelmed with bad nutrients and sugars that diabetes happens. And then that's when you have, blindness because of diabetes. You have neuropathy, you can't feel your feet. And then you're walking around and you have no idea that there's a huge open festering wound that is on the bottom of your foot. And then that's when you come see the podiatrist. But by that time, your blood sugar is completely elevated. You have no feeling in your feet, and then we have this horrible conversation about what needs to be amputated to save your life. And unfortunately, in the Black and brown communities, we're getting far too many amputations at a rate that is out of control and completely preventable. Our rates of dialysis are incredibly high too. Like people who need to be on dialysis because they have end-stage renal failure due to type 2 diabetes. Like it's just it's a domino effect that happens that all could be prevented. And I think that's the biggest thing too. Like we're kind of chasing our tails here sometimes. We need to start with prevention before it gets to that point.
Well, I love that because that's a personal intervention versus a systematic intervention, and I think it's something that we do control. But when you think about the community and its relationship to our feet, do we
Mhm.
take enough time, or how should we even inspect our feet and know the do's and don'ts about where we really need to at some point? This is something I need to go see my podiatrist for.
Right. So certain things that you definitely need to pay attention to is swelling. If you have swelling in both of your feet that's uncontrollable and you didn't sustain an injury, that's something that you definitely need to be seen for because a lot of times people don't realize they have an underlying heart defect or cardiac heart failure because of abnormal swelling in your limbs. Other things to look for are abnormal like lesions on the skin. If you have something that's very dark with irregular borders, that could mean something. Um, Other things are just more so maintenance. You need to moisturize your feet every day. Dry, callous skin can create open wounds as well. You need to be wearing proper shoes, proper socks. Fungus can also be a very bad hygienic deterrent that can create more problems for you in the future. Um, so inspecting your feet every day, washing and making sure everything is maintained on a daily basis is always a great idea. um, and then, the signs of peripheral neuropathy. If you have nerve pain in 2 feet as opposed to nerve pain in 1 foot, 2 feet, it's a systemic problem. 1 foot, it's probably an acute issue that can be solved quickly. So those are the kinds of things you should be looking out for.
Runner's feet. A lot of people getting exercise, a lot of people working but there are wounds that happen from running loss of toenails, things like that.
Hmm.
What makes that happen? And
So
what should our
have
runners be aware of?
runners have an array of problems, especially with the nails. You're constantly kind of beating up the nails against the front of the shoe. A lot of my runners have fungal toenails, and that's because you're running for a long time. The nail root gets damaged and very sweaty inside your shoes and socks, so that inserts a fungus right there. So they need to be definitely soaking their feet, probably after every run. Salt water or apple cider vinegar soaks really help. And then they can also do like topical antifungal kind of treatments for their nails to help kind of control that, as well as powders or creams that can prevent the athlete's foot. Um, in beginning runners too, they have problems when it comes to stress fractures. Like stress fractures are a pretty bad thing that I think is a little underrated. If you're trying to get back into the working out, if you're trying to have that prevention going on with your health, and running is your thing, and then you stop because your foot starts to hurt, most likely because you probably have a stress fracture going on. So maybe take up cycling instead, swimming, something else to kind of get the pressure off until your weight is down enough so you can sustain the pounding.
There's a beautiful spirit that comes across as you prescribe treatment. And I think the other thing for those who missed it, she's like, like put a little lotion on your feet, wash your feet. I think those things are underrated. I think here it is, you're in your shoes all day or you're in your house all day. Then all of a sudden you really think, well, I don't have to wash but a few areas of my body. And before you know it, you've kind of grown a green toe or something. And it clearly is not a solution. So for all of you watching, she did say lotion. She did say to wash. She did say to soak. So you
Yep.
have this is free. Like literally, this is free. They're your feet. So take better care of your feet. The other thing that I would like for you to share is just the whole idea of stretching your toes and feet and self-inspection. So how important is it to massage and stretch your feet as we move through our days?
Well, you mean the feet are the foundation of everything, and there are a number of joints and tendons and bones in your foot that are holding your whole entire body. So definitely, I stretch my Achilles tendons like every day. I stretch them and I do my little toe stretches on the walls and things of that nature just to make sure that my muscles are awake and that I'm limber enough to keep it moving. Um, so yeah, I think that people definitely need to stretch their feet, but most importantly, wear supportive shoes so you're not overextending anything either. You could easily get tendonitis or some type of ligament or tendon strain if you're not wearing the proper shoes.
So everybody wants to know, what does it feel like to be on the show?
I feel really blessed to be on the show. This is something that I was just not expecting in a million years that would ever happen. I kind of stepped out on faith and started as an independent contractor working as a podiatrist, and I was in charge of just kind of building my practice up. And I think that once I kind of started to make some traction about that, that's how the show found me. And they were like, well, you explain stuff well, and you do a good job with patients, so why don't you make a show about it? So I'm super super blessed to have been chosen to be on the show. And I think representation definitely matters. And so I don't take it lightly that I know that a lot of little Black girls are looking up at me and like thinking, maybe I can be a doctor now. It's not that far out of reach. So I definitely don't take it lightly. I like get chills every time I see someone like looking at my TV show, and they're little, and it's so humbling and such a blessing.
Well, for people who want to look at the show, there are unbelievable things in store for them this year. I
Yeah.
really want our community to educate. What can they look forward to seeing? Obviously, we want them to understand that you're there to help, with things like what?
So there's a lot of things this season on the show that are just uh, a bit abnormal. I think first season you could see a little bit more of the everyday kind of things that happen, like the fungal toenails, the bunions, the hammer toes. This season it's a little more extreme. in the sense that we're dealing with people who were born with pretty rare conditions. There's a person that was born with hemihypertrophy, basically a condition that makes you have one limb that's much larger than the other, and you grow like several tumors in there. What can be done about that? You'll see on the show. There's other people who've been, unfortunately, in several accidents, like burn victims, had past surgery in the past that kind of fixed it, but not all the way. So you're kind of figuring out what would be the best option for this patient to just get out of pain. At the moment, like some people are like, oh, we want to see the foot transform. Like we want it to be magically transformed. And my objective, I want it to look good too, but hey, let's get you out of pain, like what hurts you. So you'll see a lot of that this season as well. You know,
Freeman
it's gonna be fun.
syndrome, elephantitis, all of these things. What are they, and how can our community know when they need to see you?
So tree man syndrome is just very, very rare. I doubt we'll see a lot of people with that condition, but you need to see me if things are painful for at least 2 weeks on your foot. Don't let something fester in pain. I don't want people coming like they do on the show sometimes. It's been 5 years and this same thing is hurting. Like, no, come after 2 weeks and we'll take care of it then. You need to see me if there's anything that is an acute injury. If you've fallen, if you've had like bruising, swelling, anything like that, you need to come see me for. Any soft tissue bumps or lumps that come upon your foot, definitely come in and we'll take care of it.
Yeah. So, everybody wants to know. We showed them at the beginning of Health IQ that Gregory had a little issue, or a lot of issue, if you ask me, an onion issue.
He did.
I'm glad you said that so that others won't think that their onion feet are okay. Like smells and body odors, that suggests something.
Exactly. So Gregory actually, when he first came to me, he looked a lot worse than you saw on TV. He came to see me pre-COVID, and essentially, because we couldn't get him into the OR because of COVID, I basically sent him home with a bunch of instructions for wound care. And he did a good job. Gregory is probably by far the most compliant patient ever. And so we would be in touch, like on telephone, like, hey, are you doing your stuff? Because it's COVID and I don't want you going to the hospital, And he was doing his stuff. And so once I was able to actually get him into the surgery center, that's when we started to make moves. And I mean, I threw the kitchen sink at Gregory. I think that there was a lot of people that really played a role in helping him get to where he is today, which is amazing. And more so than making him feel better and look better and having a better life, I feel like we became really good friends in the process,
No, I have no clue what you're talking about. You speak very clearly, doctor. Obviously, you've been recognized, won research awards, and definitely for your oral presentations. But I'm not surprised. Howard University, you make us all proud that are HBCU graduates. So I want to thank you for your healing power and the love that you give.
Hampton, no, you got the HU wrong, but it's okay.
Howard. No, that was Howard or Hampton?
Hampton.
I'm kidding. Yeah, the other HU. I've got to put a little bit on it to keep y'all.
You got a little, okay.
I always want a little bit of that on there. But one of my dear friends, Brooke Ellis, is Hampton. Right. Yeah.
Home by the sea.
I love it. Well, I want to thank you, and I really love your healing powers. I love your commitment to our community more than anything. You let Black girls not know that they could, but they will be. I think that is beauty. That is the beauty. It will be done. It will manifest.
I love it.
It will be. It's not a joke, and it's possible. And someone can look like you, have beautiful hair, have a wonderful smile, care, and be concerned and compassionate. So I love the compassion. I love the communication. And for all of you out there on Health IQ, be sure to follow her, check out her show. We want you to go Mondays at 9. What?
Mondays at 9. Yes.
Mondays at 9. It is so cool. I really want to thank you, Dr. Ebonie from Hampton. We want you to know here at Health IQ, we love you, what you're doing, and that we're very, very, very proud of everything that you do to heal our community and inform us about what we can do about our feet. Your feet are important, and we want to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed this interview. So anytime.
See you soon. Peace.
See you soon. Bye.